So we all know that tribalism can destroy the community's power to get their goals. It should be obvious how a divided group loses fights they should otherwise dominate, and there are really only two groups when it comes to the gaming community: the companies and the players. And no matter which game we play, 95% of our interests should be aligned, especially more than any alignment with a company. That's kind of why I use the game that I don't play, Zenless Zone Zero, to point out how elements of its success are great for all players. For one, it points out how incidentally misleading the mobile revenue report can be, while actually showing how valuable the information buried in the report can be for gamers that want better monetization, which I imagine would be all of us. So I've been trying to reveal the notion that the only way to make more money is to be more predatory or charge higher prices is flawed. It can increase spending, but there's two other economic principles that can increase spending as well: price elasticity of demand, where demand significantly increases as a result of a decreased cost, leading to overall higher revenue. And then also Jevons paradox, which is where a resource is more efficient, or in this case, your spending goes further, and therefore people find more value in the resource and use it more. Again, increasing demand and overall revenue. The previous video showed how value can be increased across a given audience by targeting a niche, making more players find more value in a higher percentage of the content, increasing the effective size of the audience. But I also suggested that Zenless is outright more generous, and that also would lead to increased demand in Jevons paradox. So how does spending go further in Zenless? Since it has nearly the exact same monetization as Genshin and HSR, the costs of characters and weapons are nearly identical. Well, it's actually in the details, not the numbers. So Genshin is a game designed around reactions, meaning each single character is in many ways incomplete without some sort of enabler. This is a subtle cost that's not present to nearly the same extent in Zenless. Also, the cost of doing everything in these games is actually the cost of a team, not a character. So although the price of characters might be identical, the team cost, therefore the cost to play the game, is considerably less in Zenless simply for having teams of 3 rather than 4. It's extremely rare that something can be accomplished in Genshin with only 3 or less characters. Genshin's restrictive team building further decreases the value of individual characters, meaning you get less for your money, or pulls in a sense. Systems like elemental gauge, ICDs, and enemies and mechanics that completely negate certain DPS essentially power creep your roster suddenly and without warning, leaving you needing another to accomplish the same task. And this horizontal investment adds up and means a slot in a team can require multiple options to account for all scenarios. I still remember my friend who went with the meta Hutao team, where I went with Yomiya's team, and him hating life every reset once they added those flying mobs that she just couldn't hit most of the time, as well as the mobs that made it their goal to split up to the 4 corners of the arena. Meanwhile, Yoi, despite being considered garbage by the community, cleared every abyss for me the first try, even without looking at the enemy lineup, because her team just had 0 bad matchups. The more situations like that can happen to a character, especially a premium tier one like Hutao, the more people question the value of a character when they consider spending. They have to consider the true cost of filling that DPS slot with all the alternatives or substitutes that they're going to need to cover those bad matchups. A single team might need 2 or 3 or more substitutions just to cover the immunities. In extreme contrast, Zenless has, over the first couple of years, had teams that actually consist of single characters, and not in the Danjin way, where it requires extremely high skill and repetition, but characters like Jane and Miyabi that carried scrubs to victory by themselves for periods of time. That massively boosts the relative value of an individual character, if one can accomplish what would otherwise take 4, 5, or 6. And when something is more valuable, more people will buy it at a given price. Add to that a more generous gearing system, focusing on an audience that doesn't particularly mind skill acquisition, and then letting them add value to their own characters through that skill acquisition, as well as just simply offering more generosity in the first place with a plethora of more pulls. And it's clear that Zenless is considerably more generous or free-to-play friendly than Genshin or HSR. Even though Zenless consistently releases 2 characters each patch, This also actually increases the generosity and value to the players, because the game requires a much smaller roster to accomplish everything in the first place, in comparison to Genshin or HSR. HSR has very specific team-building synergies and enemy matchups. Genshin has all of the aforementioned restrictions that require substitutes for various DPS at random times when a certain enemy, shield, or phase is present. Zenless gives more pulls, and you have less spots to fill overall. Then, they add more variety of choice by releasing more characters. So even if a character fills a role, but you simply do not like them, it's likely that they have released a different character that can substitute that role and will be more to your tastes, providing, again, more value to a larger number of players. Add to that Zenless nearing Punishing Grey Raven levels of cosmetic monetization, and it's clear that Zenless is just moving from Genshin in the direction of PGR as far as monetization and systems go. And the player spending results are exactly what players would hope for. Wuthering has all of the previously mentioned advantages of Zenless in team building, character variety, and skill relevance, which just goes a bit further in having limited 5-star weapons that cost less than most R5 4-star weapons in Genshin, standard 5-star weapons that are completely free, receiving at least 4 of your choice each year, 2 limited 5-star weapons for free each year, and a reward and gacha system that makes whaling nearly half as expensive as in the Hoyo Trinity. And again, the player spending even from Zenless to Wuthering is what we as players would want to see. And that's why the revenue report is important to us gamers, because it's establishing a trend that we don't want to miss. Companies are resistant to change, and our common community narratives can hurt our goal of getting companies to take the chance on less stingy systems. Because yes, these economic principles represent a gamble for companies from their perspective, despite the consistency of the results. And gacha companies do not like to gamble with their money. The irony is not lost on me. Milking whales and choking free-to-play is just easier, even if generosity and increased value would be more lucrative, as the data is showing. They definitely will need a push, but they will just do what is already working in their eyes, and more of a guarantee. It's kind of why rulers pick tyranny over compassion most of the time. It's just too risky to trust people. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I still have a ton more to say and would like to do a counter-argument to everything I've said here in the last few videos. Basically evaluate the ways that I could be wrong and see which evidence is stronger. But perhaps I'll wait till the next revenue report, especially since it will give people time to present counter-arguments in the comments. Either way, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.